Who's on first?
That's my heart.
You could keep. You could keep the. You could keep the beat.
That's right, you're a dog like
Calling the Port Hueneme City Council regular meeting and Housing Authority regular meeting to order here for Monday night, December 3rd, 2018, here at City Hall. We'll start with the 6 p.m. closed session, and let's begin with the roll call.
Councilmember Fig, Councilmember Hensley,
Here and present.
Councilmember Sharkey,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Berg,
Here.
Mayor Schnapp.
Here, and Councilmember Fig has an excused absence. So we move on to closed session item number 2, public comment, and we'll reserve up to 10 minutes here at this point to hear matters from the public that are not on the agenda. So would anybody like to speak now? Okay. So with that, there's no one that wishes to speak at this time. So then we move on to item CS3, Conference with Labor Negotiations, and we have CS3 and CS4, so Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The council will adjourn to closed session to consider 2 items this evening. The first is Conference with Labor Negotiators, pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The agency's designated representatives are Linda Catherine Lee, Deputy City Manager, Finance Director Ken McDonald, and Stephen M. Berliner, Special Counsel. The employee organization is the Port Hueneme Police Officers Association, also known as the POA. The second item, which is listed on the agenda as CS4, is Conference with Labor Negotiators. It's under the same government code section, and the agency has the same designated representatives. This time, the employee organization is SEIU 721, Southern California Public Service Workers. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Very good. And so we will recess into closed session and reconvene out here at 6:30 for the regular meeting. Thank you.
in writing and you're like, you know, I know that's not how they meant it, but that's how it goes across, you know? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. So she says fine. No, just recognize the names. Yeah, they're out of there. And I'm assuming you're gonna be more than your brother.
Wow, it's almost a whole table.
Oh, we have, got some good numbers, we need more numbers, so.
Oh, that's very good.
Really? And it was 15 just a week ago.
Yeah.
So how was Kauai?
I laugh.
Is that a surgeon fish? I think it is, I'm not
Oh,
sure.
I have no idea.
So, the deal is with the surgeon fish is that on their tail, they have almost like a diamond. It's like, it looks like a piece of glass. So the way they knock this area out, is they swim up to the tail.
Oh, I didn't see that. No, but myself,
But the locals say that it's really good to shoot, agriculture. That's what she did.
My granddaughter, she lived in Hammond Falls. Hey, I'm doing good.
Good.
Hammond Falls, she had a boyfriend. Oh, man. That's her beach.
They say that the surgeon fish is the best.
If you move your face, you can sit my uterus. Fine, fine. Saturday. Sunday. At. So, that was the ugly one, right? So we did go really. I finished the video. I am saying it. Golly, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good.
So good to see you.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm working at the county and
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I just got a promotion, so I'm moving on up.
Fabulous. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really
How about
good.
you?
Oh well, they haven't kicked me out yet.
That's always good.
Yeah, had an election, 2 new council members, and Mike Morgan's gone, Jan McDonald. Yeah, so a lot of experience heading out the door. 2 newbies with no political experience.
But you know, maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, oh no, change is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really needed a lot of change. So,
Oh, good. Well, it's good to see
And
you.
you too.
Are you here for an item?
for John.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, good. All right.
Good to see you.
I know it's a history lesson whenever Beverly travels.
I love it.
I do too. You
You
feel like you're
we
on
were
a
in Boston at the
trip.
same time, but like on opposite ends of, or Massachusetts on opposite ends of the state.
I know you kind of feel like you're on a trip.
Don't let your fan, that's all right.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we've been waiting.
Seems a little odd.
Yes.
Okay, so Kelly Long's here. Here, I actually had him fill this out.
Oh, okay.
Kelly Long, we have a representative from Irwin's office. I put them in order. And Jesse Herrera wants to speak. And then I put Dave Norman. I don't know where
Yeah, Dave's here.
Raven is, unless that's right there on the last side. And then Tracy. So I just put them in order of what I thought.
And then Dave Pollock.
Okay, great.
So I'll call Tracy last because the rest are elected.
And Dave didn't fill out.
There's Charlotte. Charlotte's here.
So, I don't know if Kelly has a certificate, but Irwin's office does.
And
Moore
is
Park
it
has
in
a
here?
certificate.
In
No.
here? No.
They wanted to bring their own.
These are extras.
These are
then.
people that can show,
They can show.
cities that didn't come.
Okay.
So Moore Parks, Irwin's office, and Camarillo have a certificate.
Does Jessica have something?
Didn't see anything else.
Okay.
I'll ask Kelly right now.
Okay. We should have had like balloons or something.
Yeah. Kelly has, she's got a certificate too.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Let's see who it is. What do I see here?
Brian is with Kelly's office. So they'll come up together.
Okay.
Okay. Makes sense. And then these are for open session.
So then, let's see.
That's open session, which will be after recess.
Got it. Okay, because we're doing this. We're doing the presentation and then
Yep. Then John.
and then John.
Can take a break.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. All right, we have returned from closed session, and we are reconvening the city council meeting here at 6:34 on this wonderful evening of December the 3rd. Calling this meeting to order, we'll have a flag salute followed by the inspiration by Councilmember Jim Hensey. Can you please rise?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Please be seated. Happy holiday. That's my inspiration.
Okay, thank you. All right. Ms. City Clerk, could we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Fig, Councilmember Hensley,
President accounted for.
Councilmember Sharkey.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Berg,
Here.
Mayor Schnapp.
Here, and Councilmember Fig has an excused absence. We have item number 4, which is the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I would, if after the second, I'd like to pull 8D on the consent agenda.
D?
8D, Delta.
B as in boy or D
D
as
as
in
in Delta.
Delta? Okay, Delta.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, is there a,
Move approval as changed.
Yes, second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. So motion carries with the amended agenda here. Item number 5, reportable actions from closed session. Mr. City Attorney?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As read earlier, there were 2 closed session items this evening. There is a reportable action on CS3. There is not one on CS4. CS3 is a conference with labor negotiators, and the employee union was the Port Hueneme Police Officers Association. The City Council approved appointment of the designated negotiators on the city's behalf, which are Deputy City Manager Lee and Steve Berliner, Special Counsel, and that was unanimous by affirmation.
Okay, thank you. So item number 6, we have 2 presentations here, and we'll start with 6A, a presentation by Brian Tucker from the Ventura County Lodging Association, VCLA. Welcome, Brian.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here this evening. Great shot of your beach right here. Actually, this is the first time we're debuting this particular image, so you'll see it a little further down the presentation, how we're actually implementing that. So again, my name is Brian Tucker. I'm the Executive Director of the Ventura County Lodging Association. I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary with the organization. I've been in travel and tourism in some form or fashion my entire life. I have a professional career of about 20 plus years in the industry. I started in Parks and Rec, so we get to talk a lot about your great Parks and Rec you have here. I've worked in economic development, workforce development, community development and housing, redevelopment when we had a redevelopment. I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, are familiar with Visit California, the state of California brand that we work very closely with. For approximately 3 years, I solely represented all of the hotels in the southern part of California. And the way Visit California defines that is all of Central Coast. So I've had the pleasure of representing all of our Central Coast stakeholders in the past, all of Los Angeles, the Inland Empire, and the southern part of Central Valley. In addition, I've owned and operated multiple large-scale outdoor music festivals, and I grew up in a family that owned and operated music festivals. So I'm coming here by way of downtown Los Angeles, and it's really exciting to have I've talked to Mr. Butler many of times, and a lot of you as I've been experiencing the region over the past year. So it's really great to be able to pull all of those resources and experiences together to help drive room nights and revenue to our local businesses. So with that, we put together a quick summary of what we've been up to over the last year. So just to kind of level set the conversation this evening, we're going to talk just a little bit about who we are as the Lodging Association. We're going to look at the travel industry ecosystem. I've got real-time state travel impact numbers, some impact numbers as it relates to Ventura County. I even have Port Hueneme specific data, which I hope you'll all be excited to learn about. We have some real-time consumer perception data about what consumers are looking for when they come to our region. We have a 2019 forecast, which be very important when you're budgeting and looking at what the new economic impacts are going to be. And really what it all comes down to, what we get to do is all of the great marketing and outreach to inspire visitation to our region. So with that, we'll get right into it. So our business name is the Ventura County Lodging Association. We're a 501c6. You'll hear us being referred to as Ventura County Coast. So that's the business consumer name as we put our brand out in market. But Ventura County Lodging Association, Ventura County Coast, kind of could be used interchangeably depending on the setting. We're comprised of Ventura, Oxnard, Camarillo, and Port Hueneme. So our mission is simple: promote tourism through targeted marketing, sales, and public relations. And our vision is to be a thriving local hospitality industry that enjoys high occupancy, sustained profitability, and increased transit occupancy tax to support our city partners. Just a little bit of background. In 2011, the organization was formed. The acronym TBID is Tourism Business Improvement District. So we were formed back in 2011. Initially, it was a 5-year term, and we were called Ventura County West at the time. And at this point, Port Hueneme was not part of that organization. In 2015, the TBID was renewed to a 10-year. Port Hueneme, thankfully, was added, being this amazing portion of the Ventura County Coast. So that's fantastic. And the name changed to Ventura County West, Tourism Business Improvement District. In 2016, now we have a new consumer brand name that we just mentioned earlier, Ventura County Coast, and Port Hueneme is represented in all of our outreach efforts as we move forward. We have a board of directors made up of 12 industry professionals, one of which is Ruben Franco, who's the general manager here in Port Hueneme at the Holiday Inn Express. Not only is he on our board, he serves on our executive board as our secretary, and we talk on a daily basis. So Port Hueneme has really great representation within the organization. For those of you that don't know, the tourism ecosystem as it relates to nationally, it's Brand USA. I'm not sure if you've all heard of Brand USA, but from Brand USA, we work with them, and it funnels down to Visit California to inspire visitation to visit California. Then down to the region is where Ventura County Lodging Association sits in this funnel. Port Hueneme, and then down to the specific hotels and the retail or attraction, why people are coming. So we work with Brand USA, Visit California, us and all of our stakeholders to inspire that increased visitation to come spend money in our local communities. In 2017, these are numbers received from Visit California. In 2017, travel-related spending in California, $132.4 billion. In 2017, state and local tax revenue, $10.9 billion. And employment, $1.1 million in 2017, or 1.1 million jobs. Now, the projections that the state is projecting in 2018 and 19, total 5.3 in 18, as well as positive numbers, 4.7 in 19. We also look both domestic and international. Domestic, plus 5.6 in 18 and plus 4.7 in 19. International, 4.1 and 4.6. Great news here, all positive numbers, which means better bottom line for everybody sitting in this room. Now, we also have Ventura County travel numbers specifically. So spending in Ventura County out of that big number that the state puts out, we're looking at $1.65 billion with employment of 16,000 plus jobs. Local taxes are the $50 million range, and state taxes, $82 million. Now we're looking at the visitor volume for Ventura County Coast. My board has allowed me to really set up a great partnership with Visa, the card, and Dean Running and Associates. What I like to do is lead with data-driven decisions. We're not just out marketing to market. We're using data to then craft strategies, to then do the outreach, to then measure. So one of the things that I wanted to implement right away was data-driven decisions. So here's some information that we've based all of our marketing outreach efforts on to date. So visitor volume, as we're looking international versus domestic, you can kind of see the breakdown here. We don't get that much international when we're looking at Camarillo. The outlets, they have a little bit more, but there are some opportunities when we're looking at these numbers as well. When we're looking at the spending, food service is number one at 31%, followed by accommodations. Now we also have Port Hueneme specific data. And again, this is a program, an ongoing program that my board has allowed me to establish. So these are representative 2017. So we're just getting in rhythm right now to where quarter by quarter, we're not only going to receive data, but Dean Running and Associates is going to do the analysis for us. So this is a result of the 27 data that came out that we presented at the Impact Summit that we had recently for Ventura County Lodging Association. But my hope is that we could provide this data to Ruben, to Mr. Butler, and then everybody could use it in this city to help make data-driven decisions as the Lodging Association. This is a cornerstone of what we're doing right now. So Port Hueneme, domestic visitors, we could see Los Angeles, and this is the same for all of our partners in the region as well. Again, looking at the data, we do have some opportunity markets. While we know LA knows us, who doesn't? So we could then move our marketing dollars potentially some other places. Again, we mentioned we also look at international visitors. Out of the percentage of international visitors that do come to Port Hueneme, Mexico, Canada, Germany, China, and the UK are the ones that are tracking. We're also looking at the spending segment. So when it comes to the domestic spending segments, the supermarket, restaurants, and QSRs are at the top of that. And when you look at international, it kind of flips where lodging is the biggest lion's share of spending when it comes to international. So potential opportunity for us as we move forward. In addition, before we released our new marketing plan, which we never had before, we had a marketing plan in the past where we're just marketing a couple print ads, it's just general brand. But now that we have this data and we have technology, and we have the people behind the scenes that could really target and speak to the individuals that we're trying to inspire to come spend money in our destination, we started with, again, data. We've got the economic spending data. So we wanted to see what consumers thought about our region, which will help shape our marketing messages to get them here. So the second thing we did when I got here was ask the consumers what they like about us. And we did a study in 2018, a digital study, a lot cheaper than doing a huge market research study using Facebook, Instagram, and digital advertising. We received over 1,500 respondents that actually responded to about a 10-minute survey to kind of see what people like. And I wanted to include this because, and here's where the respondents were, so you can see they're all over the country. I wanted to include this because the top thing across the board, no matter how many times we ask, is going to the beach. And you'll see that a lot in the advertising that we do. It has beach shots, the sunset shots, the sunrise shots. Those just resonate so well. And this was the top thing, and no matter which way we slice it, every time we ask, that's what comes to the top. Here is a 2019 forecast. So we talked about the state projections. In addition to the partnership we have with Dean Running and Associates and Visa, we also created a custom forecast with STAR. So these are the occupancy, ADR, RevPAR reports that our hotel partners look at every month to kind of gauge their occupancy or ADRs and RevPARs. So our stakeholders wanted to kind of gauge what their 2019 budgets are going to look like. So we did a comparison between the Lodging Association. So when you see Lodging Association, those are our 4 city partners, Port Hueneme included, Oxnard, Camarillo, Ventura, versus Ventura County as a whole. So we are still included in the Ventura County numbers versus the state of California. So as you can see, again, all positive news. Occupancy's up. Average daily rate, the ADR means average daily rate. RevPAR, revenue per available room, we're also looking to be tracking in a positive direction, which at the end of the day, the bottom line, that's good for everybody in this room. Moving forward, how do we bring all of this together and really target these audiences to inspire them to come here? This is the core of what we do is, as a marketing lodging association, is to do the marketing. So out of that data that we got, those consumers said they wanted the beaches, they wanted the boutique shopping, they wanted all the great assets that we have. So we created personas, okay? So one of the personas is a millennial mom. So we're targeting people looking for outdoor experiences, kid-friendly activities, shopping, and family-friendly restaurants. So instead of the way we used to market and communicate to people with just one message, competing for share of voice, we're very specifically talking to specific groups of people. And Millennial Mom, again, based on the data, is one of the targets that we're going to be rolling out. And this is brand new. We haven't built out any of the assets for Millennial Mom, but when we do, we will be visiting Port Hueneme. We'll be working with all the stakeholders here for photography, videography, and we have real money in market to deploy those messages, again, to drive traffic back to our hotels and local businesses. The second one is outdoor lover. This persona is looking for beach and water activities, hiking, biking, and outdoor events. And we've already started to film and put this one together as we speak. And then the other one is good vibe seeker. And this particular type of traveler is looking for events, shopping, food, wine, beer, beach time. Again, beach is always in there. It's a staple. Arts and culture. So these are the personas that we're going to be pushing out through multiple different types of strategies. Our markets, I mentioned Southern California. We noticed LA across the board. People in LA, people in Southern California know us. So we've kind of shifted some of our money outside of that market. We're not going to tell our story, continue to tell our story. People already know us. So what we're going to do with the Southern California market is protect it. We're still going to spend money in that market, but not as much. We're going to look at those opportunity markets and shift some of that funding to teach other people about us that don't necessarily know. That will come for multiple days and spend money in our accommodations and our local businesses. So the way we're going after our markets, we have a protect market, Southern California, a grow market, Central Valley and Northern California, and a build market, Arizona, Nevada, and we're going to be going into the Northeast coast here in 2019. So that's the framework that we're looking at right now with those personas. So in these markets and these specific personas. And what we do with the mix, again, it's not just print, it's not just digital, it's not just, billboards. It's a combination. The bought media that we pay for, the owned, which would be our websites, our social channels, word of mouth. Earned is all of our PR that we do out there. But the core, the center of this is the content. It's your stories that we need to tell to drive that traffic here. So moving forward in 2019, now that we've got the infrastructure in a place that I'm comfortable with, we're going to be telling the story of Port Hueneme and the rest of our partners. So I look forward to working with all of you as we do that. In the meantime, I do have some real-time examples of us sharing the Port Hueneme story under the Ventura County Coast brand. So each month, my team posts 3 to 4 posts specific to each city. And here are a few of the top posts. In fact, some of the top posts annually came from Port Hueneme, actually, those great beach shots in terms of the engagement and outreach. So here's a few recent ones that we have posted. In addition, Port Hueneme is also involved in any of our PR pitches. Here's a few recent PR pitches that we got picked up in. Here is a double-page spread. So whenever you open the magazine, across both pages, and this was shot out at Port Hueneme. It's in Destinations Magazine. This is a billboard in Bakersfield. It is now down, but it was up. Again, Port Hueneme represented. This is a new look. You'll notice we had this older, sort of kind of dated look. So we're updating our look with a different, fresh, clean, kind of modern vibe, but still very connective. And in this new look, we'll be able to represent all of our partners anytime we push anything out. So in all of our print and everything we do, all of our cities get represented, including Port Hueneme. In this particular one, this was actually shot right outside. And this is in Sunset Magazine and Destinations, big spread. This, nobody's seen this. This was the cover shot that I showed you at the very beginning. We actually have a board meeting tomorrow. My board hasn't even seen the cover shot yet, so I'm happy to be able to share this with you this evening. But we're going to be targeting a special meeting planner magazine that's going to be in all the Alaska airline flights. And this is our hero shot that we just shot a couple weeks ago with our photography and videography team that I'm proud to be able to showcase. It's a gorgeous shot. And here's some stuff that we're doing in digital. We're doing a lot in the digital space. I'll just keep it very simple with this one. This is actually a geo-targeting fence that we put around Burbank Airport. That's telling people we're about 70 miles away, come visit us. So what we have, the team that I have in place right now, we're primed for 2019 and beyond. If you are not already connected, VenturaCountyCoast.com is our website. Facebook and Instagram are really the two channels that we're rallying around. So Ventura County Coast on Facebook and Visit VC Coast on Instagram. With that, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate you letting me be here.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian. Yes, Councilmember Hensley.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Tucker. This is exciting. You're a dynamic speaker, obviously, and it seems like you really know your marketing techniques, and that makes me feel good. Okay?
That's good.
In some of your surveys, how many people, did you ask specifically how many people may know about Port Hueneme?
In the survey itself, I would have to go back and look. We did
Okay,
it back
I'd
in
appreciate
March, but
that.
sure.
I'll give you my card before
Absolutely.
we leave, hopefully, and I'd like to talk. Second thing is, I'd like to follow up with you on other issues that's promoting this community. And thirdly, is it all possible that I get a digital copy of your PowerPoint here?
Oh, absolutely.
I would be most grateful.
Yeah, and to your point, one of the things I do, we promote the region, but also what we want to do, this data, this information, we want to be able to empower all of you and the stakeholders of all of our communities to use that information. We don't work in a silo, we work as a community.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that we could share, absolutely. And if
Great.
Anybody has any ideas on specific questions or information we need to look at, please let me know. We're a small team. It's myself and I have a director of sales. That's it. But we do have agencies that we work with in order to create the great visuals and the videos. But absolutely.
And where's your office at now?
It's in Ventura.
In Ventura now?
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
in
not
Ventura.
in the towers thing or not?
No, we're off
Okay.
of Telephone Road.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Yes, Councilmember Sharkey.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Music festivals, eh?
My bluegrass music.
Oh,
festival
bluegrass, yeah.
specifically.
I tried being a concert promoter for about 2 seconds, and I learned my lesson.
It's hard. It's hard.
Really quick. The mayor and I are each associated with an organization called Cycle California Coast.
Mm-hmm.
You aware of them?
Very much aware. I have some exciting news I didn't share about that, but
Oh, okay, great. I just want to make sure, that seems like a great connection, a great symbiosis there. When we look at Port Hueneme specifically, and this goes way back to the predecessor organization, which we were involved with, but it didn't, quite frankly, see a lot of benefit from. A lot of the folks that are staying at local hotels are here on military business.
sure.
And not paying TOT, and the public is aware of that, but it's not a leisure kind of thing. It's more folks on government business. You're on government business, you don't pay the TOT. A series of city councils have made a decision they didn't want to pursue lodging. They didn't want to pursue visitor serving. And to be perfectly honest, it's not a great surf beach either. We have some good days, but it's basically a neighborhood beach. What we do have is a really nice park. And it's a great place for family gatherings and picnics and weddings, and that's the kind of folks we get here. And we have George and Sharon out there who run the Ocean View Pavilion, which is a good event site. It's very difficult for us to capture value from visitors here. And that's been a struggle for years and years and years. We can talk about promoting, and everybody always talks about, well, we need more visitors, but there's no place for them to spend money. The city was not designed that way. It's great stuff, and I think there's real value. You look at Ormond Beach, and if anybody's in the birding community, that's one of the prime spots in the world. And 25, 30 years ago, I was saying, why aren't we capturing that market here? And there is a market there, and it's just for our particular city. It's great for the region, and I'm glad to have people come here. But for our particular city, it's very hard to capture value because there's no place for them to spend money here. But I appreciate your efforts. I like what you're doing, and this is if you're on that Cycle California Coast route, you will come through here. even though the bike lanes are messed up.
Sure. And that's why there's so many different segments to inspire visitation. It's not one-dimensional. So the bird segment you're talking about specifically, that could probably fall into our outdoor adventure or good vibe seeker. And our goal is to educate them on the diversity of the opportunities to spend money, in which case would drive occupancies. And we're going to do our best to educate people for reasons to stay here, and our partner communities, which the compression helps drive overnight stays as well. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, you had a question. Mayor
Yes.
Pro Tem Berg.
Thank you very much, Brian. That's a great presentation. Very creative. I like your PR approach. The idea of running these surveys too, getting down to the lowest common denominator would be really valuable. One quick question. Where on Telephone Road are you?
Off of Goodyear.
Telephone and Goodyear?
1891 Goodyear Avenue is our
1891
address.
Goodyear?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, I appreciate you taking the time to come present, because I know that there was a presentation that I think a few of the staff here from the city manager's office attended, and I felt it was really important for the rest of the team to hear about the great things that you're doing to promote the region, but the city, and hopefully then attracting more of those hotel stays that get us the TOT, as well as the money that helps drive your organization and marketing as well. So
Sure.
It's a wonderful relationship, and I appreciate your time to present some really solid numbers. We look forward to the growth, the incremental growth for 2019, and looking forward to making something larger happen as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I
Thank
look forward
you.
to, you mentioned team. I look forward to working with all of you. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll just wait a minute here. Okay, so with that, we are heading into item 6B, and this is the recognition of Councilmember John Sharkey's retirement tonight. Well, he's not necessarily retiring tonight, but we're doing the recognition tonight. And so we'll move into this recognition. We will take a few moments after all the recognition is done, and then we'll reconvene to the City Council at that time. But let's move right on in. So how many in the audience have known John for 10 years or more? Raise your hand. How many have known him for 20 years or longer? 30 years or longer? All right, so 20 years. Well, that's about the time. That's about the time he really became active with us. So, oh, it's another generation ago, right? So, Councilmember Sharkey is retiring after serving 24 years as City Council member and mayor of the city of Port Hueneme. He's the second longest serving council member and mayor of the city, only eclipsed by the one and only Orvine Carpenter, who I don't think he's in the audience tonight, but I know we'll see him on Friday. And I see Brian and Dave and Charlotte and David Pollock and Kelly Long. So all of you will be brought up to the podium to give your comments to John and the team here. Let me read a few things. As Councilmember Sharkey led the effort to write and pass the city charter, making Port Hueneme the second charter city in Ventura County. In addition, John has devoted his career to improving both the physical and cultural infrastructure of Port Hueneme. He was instrumental in securing funding to rebuild the city's aging wastewater system and has been a strong advocate at both the state and local level for library funding. He's also led successful effort to build award-winning housing in Port Hueneme, revitalizing the city's core. He's been recognized as a leader in coastal advocacy. He has served as chair and board member of the Beach Erosion Authority for Clean Oceans and Nourishment, also known as Beacon, one of the first regional organizations in the country dedicated to providing a public response to the challenges of coastal erosion and resiliency. He has worked closely with congressional offices and the Army Corps of Engineers to ensure continued sand replenishment at Hueneme Beach. He's been a strong advocate for regionalism as well. As chair and board member of the Ventura County Sanitation District, also known as VRSD, he led the effort to secure approval from the state of California to site and operate the only publicly owned landfill in Ventura County. And the award-winning Toland Road landfill has been recognized as a national leader in the use of landfill gas for electricity generation. The biosolids processing facility during its operation not only provided a local solution to biosolids disposal, but also took 9 million truck miles per year off the road. In addition, John has presided over VRSD plans for future technologies to convert solid waste into energy. He has proudly served Port Hueneme as a representative to the Regional Defense Partnership for the 21st Century, known as RDP 21. That's a public and private partnership formed to support the military mission in Ventura County, the very important mission for Port Hueneme. RDP 21 has been instrumental in enhancing the mission of Naval-based Ventura County, bringing thousands of high-paying jobs to this area and keeping them here. Sharkey has also served as chair and board member of the Ventura County Air Pollution Control District, APCD, where he worked with the California Air Resources Board, the United States Navy, RDP 21, and the Coast Guard to develop transit rules for shipping in the Santa Barbara Channel in order to ensure air quality improvement without impacting naval operations. He has also served on Gold Coast Transit, Ventura County Transportation District, I believe even animal regulation, just to name a few more. And let's see, what else? So that's all those things that we know, or we've seen, or we've read, or we've witnessed in person at these different meetings, here at City Council, at different committees. But did you know these things about John? Let me read to you a little bit of who he is as a person when he maybe takes off his council member hat and mayor. He's a classically trained pianist, and he can play the melodica. He actually can build and rebuild a piano from scratch, and he's done it before. He's been a pilot for 15 years. He has credits on 16 record albums. He's helped run a couple of record labels as well, one called Trigon Records and the other Flying Pyramid. And as a band member, he actually toured Europe in the 1990s. What instrument do you play, John? The keyboard. Okay. He's also a songwriter, and he was also responsible, that's why he kind of talked to Brian here from the VCLA. He was responsible for booking bands for different events, so he knows music well. He is a rabid Red Sox fan. So one day we were here for Halloween, and everybody was dressed in costume. It was a couple years ago. And he had a hat on, and I thought it said New York Yankees on it. I said, John, is that a Yankee hat? He says, no, it's called what? Yankee Hater. I didn't look at the letters closely. He used to commute by bike, and the farthest he's ridden is 40 miles from here to about Lake Casitas and back. He has driven Corey Cruiseman sprint cars, a NASCAR stock car, and is certified as a stunt driver. Did you all know that? No. He also loves boating, and on many of the vacations that he and Beverly have taken, they usually can find a boat or get a boat somewhere. But as a kid, he had his own sunfish on Cape Cod, so that's where really possibly the love of boating started. He's also a poet. Did you know that? No. Okay. So let me step into then the recognition here that we'll start with from the City of Port Hueneme. And this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Hueneme honoring Jonathan Sharkey on his retirement. Whereas Jonathan Sharkey served 6 consecutive terms as a member of the Port Hueneme City Council. First elected in 1994, he has served 24 years as a council member and as a mayor in 1998, 2003, 2009, 2014. Let's see, somehow I have a 2002, 2006, 2010, and all right, a couple of other years too in here. And all the committees and all the boards and all the commissions, all those that I read to you, plus the Ventura County Children, Families, and Community Commission, Ventura County Tobacco Settlement Committee, California Joint Powers and Insurance Agency, Point Mugu Airport Authority, the Ventura County Regional Trails Advisory Commission, and he's also served on the Economic Development Collaborative of Ventura County. Whereas among his numerous accomplishments notably include, and most of these I didn't read, but let me read them now. He led the campaign for the voter-approved utility tax, providing stable funding for the police department. Negotiated an agreement with Coastal Commission for Resource Protection Zone. Helped to institute the first-time home buyers assistance program, bringing the American dream within reach of many who would otherwise be left out. Led the repeal of the infamous view tax. Mediated dispute between Channel Islands Beach Community Services District and the U.S. Navy regarding testing issues. Participated in successful negotiations for a new revenue sharing agreement between the City of Port Hueneme and the Oxnard Harbor District. Campaigned for beach restoration and enhanced act and testified before the Assembly Natural Resources Committee. Oversaw construction of a $26 million water project, which provided a stable source of quality water for the next generation of residents. And he also saved Shady, the City Hall cat, from threat of eviction. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of Port Hueneme officially recognizes the professional and civic accomplishments and contributions of Jonathan John Sharkey, and hereby proclaims December 3rd as John Sharkey Day in the City of Port Hueneme. Passed, approved, and adopted on this 3rd day of December 2018 by the City Council of your precious city, the City of Port Hueneme. John, thank you. Congratulations.
Thanks. I forgot about a lot of that stuff.
All right, so we'll give you a few minutes after everyone comes up, but if I can step into that, and I have a list here. So from the California State Assembly, we have a representative from Jackie Irwin's office, District 44, so come on up.
Hi everyone, I'm Ryan Fleming from Assemblymember Irwin's office. She wishes she could be here today, but today was the first day of her session, so she had to be sworn in and present her first bill. But nonetheless, she was very clear that she wanted someone here to say thank you. 24 years is truly commendable. As stated multiple times of how involved you are, that has been huge, of being virtually everywhere for the last 24 years and really being able to continue to develop this city into something that still has a very bright future because of the role that you've had. Thank you for being a partner to our office, and we will definitely miss you. Thank you. And then I do want to present this certificate to you on behalf of the member.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, next. Next, we have Supervisor Kelly Long, Supervisor of the 3rd District.
Hello, thank you. Kelly Long, Ventura County Supervisor. First of all, I'd like to say, John, you are looking sharp tonight. Well done. Very nice, Beverly. Well done. Always have to give the wife some credit too, you know. First of all, John, on behalf of all the Board of Supervisors, past and present, we want to say thank you so much for all you have done. Being a council member is, there's just so much you do. I don't think all of our community knows, but know that they have cherished everything that you have done because it's so seamlessly. I appreciate all the time you do with the RDP 21. It's been a pleasure to travel with you and also to be on several different boards with you. Your knowledge is just, we'll miss that completely. So I just want to take a moment and just say thank you for all your efforts. Thank you.
We have Jess Herrera from the Board of Commissioners of the Port of Hueneme Oxnard Harbor District.
John, I wanted to get this right. And, you know, after hearing everything that you've done for the 24 years, I guess you should be tired by now. And I was hoping that Beverly would give you one more term so we could serve together again. You know, but anyway, I tried. John, I wanted to say that you have been a great advocate for your city for over 24 years. And you have answered the challenge of public service with strong, well-prepared, and thoughtful leadership. I appreciate that even in the toughest of times, we were always able to collaborate and find ways to move our community and our port forward. Your presence will be missed, but your impact will certainly endure. So, John, thank you so much for all the years that you gave me and the city of Fort Wayne.
Jess and I first met each other campaigning in 1994. And yeah, we've been side by side ever since.
You know, we've served on the Port City Committee, and, you know, we've had some tough times, but, you know, it's always been, I've always been able to talk to John, and John's always been able to talk to me, and I have appreciated that friendship so much, professionally and even unprofessionally.
There are times like that?
So, John, on behalf of the rich Port of Hueneme, the Board of Harbor Commissioners hereby recognize and commend Jonathan Sharkey for his commitment to the city of Port Hueneme and to our community and the various people he has enriched upon the occasion of his departure from the city of Port Hueneme, and we wish him fair winds and following seas for all his future endeavors. Congratulations, John. You know, and I know, John, that your voice will echo through this community, and I would hope that the new council members that are coming in would sometimes call upon you for your advice, because I know your wisdom will be very, very important to them. Thank you, John.
All right. Brian Brennan, would you like to come up and speak from Beacon? Oh, he's not done. Oh, I'm sorry. Jess.
There's more.
We have lots of money.
Parting gifts. Thank you, Jess.
The
Cheap shot.
hey, well, we're gonna be eclipsed by the marijuana. I know. You know, the Board of Harbor Commissioners asked me to pass this along to the Honorable Jim Hensley for his work here on the City Council. And Jim, I'd just like to give this to you. I have another one for you, John, too. You get all this stuff. One of those. And Jim? Thank you.
Fellow soldier, thank you. Fantastic, thank you.
And I also have one
Thank
for
you.
your Tom that's missing tonight. So, you know, for the team members.
Yes, thank you. We'll make sure he gets that. Thank you. All right, Brian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know, that was it. I got the memo. By the way, Jess is a hard act to follow, that rich port of Hueneme. I don't have, Beacon, I'm here representing Beacon, and as you know, that's a membership-driven organization, and we don't spend any money on pretty much anything except, unless it's directed to keeping sand on the beaches. So John, I'm sorry, but we gave John a certificate and resolution 2 weeks ago at the last Beacon meeting. But I did want to say that it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve with John, both certainly in the role of capacity in Beacon, but certainly on all the other boards and commissions that we served on over time. A voice of reason, institutional memory in some cases, but certainly just a real, I think, willingness to find common ground and to really serve the best for the public. I mean, public service, and Jim, thank you for your public service, and Tom too, who's not here tonight. It's tough, and I mean the people, rightfully so, the folks that vote for all of you expect availability all the time, know all the answers, and got to say John knew most of the answers, but just wanted to say that John helped keep Beacon alive in an era when years ago when there wasn't an awful lot of need. There was lots of sand. We had lots of rain. We had sand. The rivers were roaring, pushing sand out to the ocean. The last 8 years, we haven't been in that situation. The fact that we have sand to move from Channel Islands around the corner to Port Hueneme is a lot of the work John has done in his capacity as chair of Beacon, is making sure sand and sediments get put into the system further up, so there is sand and sediments to move around the corner to Port Hueneme. So John, I just want to say thank you, and it's been an honor and pleasure working with you, and I know that we're going to keep you involved. Thank you.
Okay, so we have Mayor Charlotte Craven and City Manager of Camarillo, Dave Norman.
Well, we're going to do it, our talks separately.
Okay.
I do have something to give you, John, but first I want to say that the first time I met you was at a VRSD meeting, and Orvine Carpenter served with me on that board from when it was reorganized until he left the council. But a couple years before he left the council, he was talking to me, and he said, you know, I'm not going to be running again, and I want to get this new council member, and so he's going to be coming every once in a while. He's my alternate. Now, some people think he's kind of kooky. Those were his words. But he said he's a good guy. So when you showed up in your flip-flops and shorts and Hawaiian shirt and ponytail, I thought, yeah, he is kind of a kooky guy. But through the years that we served together on VRSD, and by the way, there were some committees from VRSD. Wasn't there a Cool Heads committee or something that you served on with a guy from Thousand Oaks? Mike Markey. The landfill, yeah. Quite a few committees over there. But anyway, and later as I served with you on the RDP 21 and the many trips back to Washington, D.C. to lobby for the bases, I have been absolutely amazed at the depth and the breadth of your understanding of all of the problems that are associated with bringing more tenant activities or problems that the various tenant activities at the base have, and we go back to talk to people about. It doesn't matter what the topic, you understand what it is, and you're going to be missed deeply on those trips. But also, I was amazed at how quickly you caught up with everything that was happening at VRSD and jumped right in. And you will be missed in the county because of how much you've been doing and how much you understood. Didn't just attend meetings. If you were going to be representing the city of Port Hueneme on something, you wanted to really know what you were doing. So having said all that, I have a certificate of recognition presented to Jonathan Sharkey, council member, city of Port Hueneme. The Camarillo City Council recognizes you for 24 years of dedicated service to the city of Port Hueneme, and it should also say here, and to the county of Ventura. We congratulate you on your retirement, and we give you best wishes for all of your future endeavors. It's signed by all the council members.
And then Dave Norman.
Thank you very much. So 12 years ago, I was preparing for my interview with the city of Port You Need Me. And I was doing all my research, and like any good city manager wannabe and prospective hiree, you know, I went through the website and I really looked at the pictures, matched the name with the faces, and really tried to get a good sense of what everyone was about. So I walk into that conference room right behind us, and I sit down, and I look, and to my right is this guy with this ponytail, and I'm thinking, what kind of hippie trip am I getting into here? And but you know, I got past that. They got past me and all my foibles, and we decided to strike a deal. So through the time I was here, I really came to appreciate where John kind of sat in the mix between Tony Young and Tony Vellante and John and Murray and Maricela. And John was right there in the middle, kind of pulling it all together, making it all work. Because if you like got Tony and Maricela together, there was going to be an explosion. The place would just like fall apart. But John had a way of really talking with everybody and really being that master politician. And that's what I really appreciated about John. You were the guy who, you know, you think about today's politics, John represents the best in what it takes to make things work. Because he always told me, he says, you know, you may not like him, you may not like her, but at the end of the day, you got to do a deal. Now, John and I are also musicians, so we probably talk music more than a lot of things, even city business. But so I learned a lot from John on many different levels, and John, I'll never forget you for it, and I love you for it too. Thank you.
Oh. Thank you. Let's see, we have a council member from the city of Moore Park, David Pollock. So David?
Well, when most people say they want to clear the air, they mean it figuratively. But with John, it's been quite literal. I've had the pleasure of serving the last several years with him on the Air Pollution Control Board. And I don't know how much he shares with you about what goes on there, but there's some things to be very proud of. In particular, I'd point out our Blue Skies, Blue Whales program, which won a national award for simply slowing the ships down the channel by 4 knots. It cut their emissions in half, and in the process also reduced the number of whale strikes. So John has, I know you've done a great job for Port Hueneme, but your influence has been much further than that, and it seems like I run into you everywhere in Ventura County. So on behalf of, exactly. On behalf of the 38,000 residents of Moore Park, many who work in Port Hueneme and all of who are downwind from Port Hueneme, and the mayor and the city council, I wanted to recognize you for all your years of service here, both to the city and to the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. And let's see, we have Tracy Sisson-Phillips from the Hueneme Chamber.
Well, Councilmember Sharkey, I was starting to craft a few notes, and as I started doing pen to paper and doing the math, 6 terms, 4 years, 24 years, and realizing that's like half of my life. And I say that because to me, it's amazing to think that you would give all of that time selflessly to this tiny little town that we all call home. And I was kind of writing down some of the titles, and Mayor Schnapp has stolen half of them, but I'm gonna recap them briefly. Council member, mayor, honorable, but also musician, author, publisher, editor, advisor, advocate, straight man, activist, mentor, knowledge base, the great pontificator, and the statesman. But most importantly, and as you transition into this new phase of your life, the 4 titles that are going to mean the most to you: father, husband, Ampa, did I get that right? Ampa, I love that, and friend. And I thank you for being a friend on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Port Hueneme Chamber of Commerce. We are so appreciative for all you've given to our city.
Anyone else wanting to come up to speak? Yes. Oh, Brian, yes. Come on up, Brian.
I just had to come up and say a few words. John, you've been an outstanding council member for the city of Port Hueneme. I've had the chance to work with you for the last 24 years, and I've enjoyed all of it. Our trips to Washington that Charlotte was talking about, John was always the person that did his homework. You never worried. When he started talking, he was always on point, right there, whether it was RDP 21 or APCD or the beach erosion that we talked about earlier. In fact, when I was with Congressman Gallagher, I've had a chance to work with John his entire 24-year career here at the city. I'm currently, of course, with the Chief of Staff to Supervisor Kelly Long, but prior to that, I was with Supervisor Foy, and then 22 years with Congressman Gallagher. So I had the chance to work with John, and I remember in the early 2000s when we had that beach erosion, it was going across Surfside Drive. He was the one calling our office almost every day. And because of that, because of his advocacy, we actually were able to get a rare midterm dredge to bring that beach back. And it was mainly because of John and his efforts that made that happen. So, John, you have definitely served this city well, and it's a better place because of what you've done, and we want to congratulate you and wish you and Beverly the best in your retirement.
Well, sure. Come on back. Oh, do we have one more speaker? Okay, there's one more, John. Hold on just a second.
My name is Christine Walker. I'm the superintendent for Hueneme School District. And John, I just wanted to come and thank you on behalf of our staff and our students in Hueneme. I think back to the days when I was principal at Bard School, which was starting in 2003, and how many times you were there for every single event that we asked you to come for. So thank you for working with those of us that work across the street, and for all of the students. And my father is also, he's a school board member, and he's retiring after 29 years of service. And I know what the sacrifice is like on your family and all of those who are in your life. So thank you, and thank you from all of our staff and all of our students.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, okay. You can come up, you can come back to the dais for this.
You better sit down for this one,
Mr.
John.
City Attorney.
No, I'm going to be gentle. When the position of city attorney here was advertised, as you know, I came and sat in the audience very quietly just to observe, to see what was going on, because let's face it, the press for Port Hueneme hadn't been very good, and I wanted to make sure it was a situation where I could actually make a contribution. And I will admit that I fell prey to a little bit of stereotyping, because I looked at John and I thought, unreconstructed hippie. Know the type well, went to school in that era, but I got past it. And then I started working with John, and once I got past the mustache, I thought, you know, there's depth to this guy. He has knowledge, and he has and I don't use this word lightly, has wisdom. He knows how to take the experiences that he's experienced and apply them to come to wise decisions. And I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've known a great number of elected officials, many of them admirable, some of them not. But I have tremendous respect and admiration for John, and will carry that with me in his absence. I just want to tell a quick story how it's known that we had a little bit of trouble with our insurer here because of claims that were made. California Joint Powers Insurance Authority was going to terminate our coverage. And Mr. Butler put together a little strike team of myself and Mr. Sharkey. And we went down, and I thought Mr. Butler and I were brilliant in our presentations to the executive committee. It didn't make a bit of difference. And then John spoke, and it was very clear that the people on that executive committee, the 18 members who were all elected officials of other jurisdictions, understood him, related to him, knew him, respected him, and for that reason, the city was able to retain its insurance. That is my strong belief, is that John carried that all by himself. And I've been here less than 2 years, more like a year and a half, and I've seen multiple instances where he has had that kind of impact. So I think the history of local government is composed of largely unsung efforts, heroes who operate in small ways and often don't get recognized for it. You're one of those, and I'm really pleased that tonight you're getting recognized for it.
Thank you. And John, I do want to make mention here of different municipalities that couldn't attend in person, but they do send certificates of commendations and recognitions for you, starting with Mayor Tim Flynn and the city of Oxnard, their certificate of commendation to you as council member, and all the accomplishments, as well as then just their acknowledgement of being their friends. Thanks. We have one from the city of San Buenaventura, signed by Mayor Neil Andrews, and I know you and Neil go back many, many years, and certainly it's a very nice commendation here for you as well. There's just a few more here. This is from the city of Santa Paula and Mayor Ginger Girardi, and your certificate of recognition for your service here in the city.
I have experience with Ginger as well.
Okay, that's right. You served on the Transportation Commission. And this is from the city of Fillmore, from Mayor Manuel Minajares, and also then certificate of recognition. This beautiful large one is from Ojai. I just want you to see this. Is that nice? And this is signed by their mayor, Johnny Johnson, and it's a proclamation, City of Ojai. Last but not least, City of Thousand Oaks. This one's also pretty memorable. I know Camarillo is just right up there too. Very nice stuff. Very nice. So this is a commendation in honor of Jonathan Sharkey, signed by Mayor Andrew Fox. It's very nice. Yeah, yeah. And so certainly recognizing John here, he's leaving a lasting legacy for our community. He's done a tremendous amount of work in the last 24 hours. 24 hours? 24 days, 24 years. We will feel it for a lifetime here, but knowing that he really had and took Port Hueneme in his heart wherever he represented us, to whomever, at all times, and really just wanted to come back with the best possible for our residents in the community of those that we support here, as well as with the Navy. And John, you did it with a lot of respect, with a lot of support. You were really, as you know, what was said here, you really brokered a lot of deals when maybe the deals couldn't be done, and you saw a way. You were like that cutter ship that just went through the ice. And so I will miss you because you're my friend, and I know that you're just a phone call away. But you have really impacted my life and impacted all our lives here in Hueneme. So thank you so much for your service. With that, is there anyone else on the dais that wishes to speak? No? You don't want to see? Okay. All right, so, yes,
Fair
John,
enough.
your turn.
Fair enough. My turn, I guess. Yeah, I guess this is a day that comes to all of us, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised. I did write a few notes because I figured I'd screw this up. Thanks to the state of California counting every vote, we'll actually have another meeting when we do transfer offices. So I'll treat this more as a valedictory and that is more as a salutatory. If you want to hear two speeches from me, you can show up at both meetings. Yeah, I've been through a couple of these now, and it's not easy to take. You know, I hear all this stuff, and my reaction is, you know, I could have done better. I should have done more. It was really funny hearing some of the stuff that Sylvia read off because I forgot about it. You know, and I appreciate everybody's comments. You know, it's de mortuis nihil nisi bonum, I guess. You know, if you know what that means. There's a quote I like from Hall of Fame baseball player Reggie Jackson. And somebody asked him one time, how do you want to be remembered? And he said, I want to be remembered as a guy that every time he went on the field, he gave you everything he had. Sometimes it was crap. Sometimes it was pretty good. But whatever you saw that day, that's what I had. And that's kind of like how I'd like to be remembered. Not everything I did succeeded, despite what you heard tonight. You know, sometimes it was crap. You know, there were, you know, I can't say that I was 100. It was great every day. I think by and large, I think I did pretty well. Hope I did pretty well. And Charlotte and Dave and everybody, Kelly and all those folks here in local government, you know that somebody said a lot of times they don't even know we're here. And you know, Beverly always criticizes me for having everything either be a sports analogy or a Grateful Dead lyric. And by the way, Beverly really likes guys with long hair. So I try to keep her happy.
John, I forgot to mention that it was in the Grateful Dead tribute bands that you played in, right?
Well,
some of them.
Yeah, I had a little career doing that too. So, you know, somebody offers you a job, you take it, basically. The thing I always liked about local government is that this is the level of government that is closest to the people. This is where you really affect people's lives, and it may be a lesser vineyard, but sometimes the lesser vineyard can produce the sweetest wine. It means so much to have the recognition of my peers, because you know what this job is, and you know, what we do isn't always visible. But I can look around town and I see little things like, you know, how that curb cut is why it's not positioned. I know that I had a hand in that, and it's just part of the fabric of the community. It's just a single thread in the great tapestry that is this community. And Well, I've been thinking a lot about, well, this last quarter century, last 3 decades or so, and where it fits in, and how fortunate I was to be in this cohort and to work with some of the great people that are in this room right now. And also to have served with Orvine Carpenter. It goes back to the incorporation of the city. You know, and I got to know Bill Miranda and Ray Pruder and Doral Wright and all those guys who have buildings named after them. You know, I got to know those folks. And they created the foundation that allowed us to build what came next, and hopefully we're leaving this in a better position, and for those who are going to be following us. But in the end, our works are written in sand. You know, think about visiting an ancient vineyard, and think about all the people that worked those vines and in that field. We may not know their names, but their work endures. It's been a privilege to have been given the opportunity to tend this vineyard. And though I may soon be forgotten, may the work continue. And by the grace of God, may these vines continue to flourish and bear fruit. God bless you all, and God bless the city of Port Hueneme. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
That's a better response than we got at the Paradiso in Amsterdam.
You know, John, I have to say, too, is you have been a humble servant of the city of Port Hueneme, and I really appreciate it because your presence lights up a room, but you're not calling attention to yourself because you're there for business, and you're there to conduct business, and you're there leading the way for the city. And so I thank you for that. So at this point, we will then recess because we have John's favorite cake waiting in the lobby. So we'll take about 10 to 15 minutes. So if you want to join us in the lobby, you're more than welcome to. Thank you.
Yeah, John just went back and somebody else.
Trapped. Are those vitamin fruit chews? Charlie, are those vitamin fruit chews? Oh.
We didn't approve the resolution.
Oh, yeah. Shall we do it now? So we'll just cover it right now. think they're just in the back right now. Yeah, John's back here. Pardon?
Port Hueneme water. $6 million to build that plant. Bottled water?
We could be. Like the Grateful Dead. Like the Grateful Dead.
That's a rubber real key song. The road goes on forever and the party never ends. Look it up. It's a very cool song.
Okay, so we are reconvening for the city council meeting tonight. I didn't mention earlier, but just to let you know that there should be a mention of Councilmember John Sharkey's retirement coming up in the congressional record to acknowledge his time frame. So, yeah, I know that's pretty big. That's big time. All right, so before we move on from item 6B, I want to make sure that we affirm the resolution that we just presented, Councilmember Sharkey. Right. So is there a motion?
Die for lack of a second here. No, I want to move that we pass the resolution as presented.
And I second it. So all those in favor? So we're
The first
talking
one.
about his.
Oh, sure. The big one.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. So motion carries unanimously. John, it's official. Thank you. And so, yes. No, it wasn't here on the agenda, but we had to do it. What it also then signifies, I don't know if you know this, John, but every December 3rd is John Sharkey Day.
So everybody has to wear a polo suit.
We all thought about that, John. We're all
Yeah,
going to wear.
this is-
We're all going to wear ponytails.
This is like serious stuff.
Ponytails.
So
Hawaiian shirts.
but there's a surprise coming on Friday, so you'll know a little bit more about that December 3rd, John Sharkey Day. Okay. So we will recess then City Council to conduct the business of the Housing Authority. So I know I saw Mr. Brown here. Yep. And then once we complete the Housing Authority, we will reconvene to City Council.
Gosh, where'd everybody go?
Right. So could we have the roll call, please, Madam City Clerk?
Member Fig, Member Brown.
Here.
Member Hensley.
Here.
Member Sharkey.
Present.
Vice Chair Berg.
Here.
Chair Schnapp.
Here, and Board Member Brown, or Fig, sorry, has an excused absence. So we have item HA2, Agenda Review.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. And we have consent agenda HA3.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously on the consent agenda. HA4 is open forum, and so anyone wishing to speak to the board on any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. Seeing none.
Can I say something?
There's board comments. You want to do that
We'll
at
do it at
H5?
board comments then, yeah.
Okay. All right. So there's no speaker for open forum. So we move then to item HA5, board comments.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to recognize Gabriela Basua in the audience tonight, who has recently won an election for the City of Oxnard, District Number 5. Gabby, great job. We look forward to working with you, and congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So then,
I have a
are there
comment.
any other board comments?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Brown?
Okay. First of all, good evening, everybody, and because this is the last housing meeting for the year, I want to say thank you to the council and the housing for the improvements that were approved and completed for us at Mar Vista. I can also say that the majority of the residents feel very grateful and content with our living situation, and that we are not interested in causing or making problems for the housing, but instead we're looking forward to working with the housing, with the backing of the council, of course. And so with that, I just want to say thank you all, and we appreciate it very much, and that we wish you all a Merry Christmas, and we're looking forward to having a great and happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Sharkey.
Yeah, thanks, Madam. I just want to say, Mr. Brown has been an outstanding representative on this board. I've been on this board a long time, and you were just absolutely one of the best resident representatives we've ever had. So we appreciate your work.
Thank you.
I agree. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Johnny.
All right, thanks.
Okay, so at this time then, we reconvene to City Council regular meeting. So we have item number 7 on the City Council agenda, and it's open forum. We reserve 30 minutes at this time to hear matters from the public, or comments from the public on matters not on the agenda, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the council. I do have 2 speaker cards, so I'll call up Tracy Sisson-Phillips from the chamber, followed by Stephen Gama.
Good evening again, Mayor, City Council. Tracy Sisson-Phillips of the Hueneme Chamber of Commerce. Just wanted to take an opportunity to give you a little recap on our holiday, 6th annual holiday tree lighting event that was held last Thursday, November 29th. We had close to 100 kids and families come through to take photos on the evening. Thanks to the Police Officers Association providing the kids' crafts and face painting that was free to all of the children. Our thanks again to Soft Touch Photography for providing the free Santa photos, as well as to Chris and Christine Bissonette for donating their time as Santa and Mrs. Claus. We had several of our community members come out and volunteer, helping take sign release forms, helping navigate the lines. And I do want to take an opportunity, I don't think Anna's here anymore, but the best thing about this year's holiday event was city staff. Because despite the fact that Chief threw out the curse in one of our planning meetings, what do we do if it rains? We actually were able to, leave it to somebody to be the voice of reason. We said, we'll just move it to the community center, and we made a call late Monday afternoon, and Rod and staff, particularly Anna, she busted her tail all day Thursday, decorating trees, moving stuff, everybody, whatever the chamber needed to make that event be successful, despite the fact that we had squalls of sideway rains for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Berg, for coming out and saying a few words. I know that the city also received good response to the sign-ups for the toy drive that night as well. So we had that going on. We had the Boys and Girls Club Choir come and sing, which was great because we knew we had at least 40 kids there. That was my saving grace. I'm like, okay, if nobody else comes because of the rain, we have 40 kids and parents because of the performers. And then we had a group of Moore Park College kids come out, despite the fact that they lost one of their members in the borderline shooting. They still came because they made a commitment to come and serve our city. So I wish Moore Park City Council was still here to hear that great news. But save the date, December 5th, 2019. And I can't wait to see what holiday is going to look like on John Sharkey Day, because that's eventually going to happen too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy. And then Stephen Gama.
Thank you, Mayor Schnapp. Thank you. Just want to say I'm thinking about all those kids and smiles that we saw over there at the holiday tree lighting ceremony, and it was truly, truly a fun thing to participate in, and look forward to the toy drive that the Chiefs putting on as well. Laura Hernandez and Richard Rollins and I spoke, and they too could not be here tonight, and so they asked me to speak on their behalf, or on behalf of the three of us, to thank Tom Figg, Jim Hensley, and of course John Sharkey for their years of service. It's the three of us are trying to prepare ourselves, and we want you all to know that when we get stymied, stuck, or bewildered, perhaps you could give us a call and give us a nudge or help us through the work that we're going to be doing in the near future. And so we wanted to make sure that all of you know that we have a big debt of gratitude to you, and we really thank you for your service, and pray for us and help us along the way, because this is all new to us. And again, the three of us just really want to recognize you all for your service to this community, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on matters not on the agenda? Okay. Seeing none, we then go to consent agenda, and this is approvals of items 8A through 8I. We can also receive public comment on any consent item. And
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Recalling item D has been pulled for discussion, and
correct.
I will be abstaining on item E.
Okay. So is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on any matters on the consent agenda?
Councilmember, is that due to proximity?
Yeah, that's a prima facie conflict of interest.
Okay. So seeing that there aren't any speakers for any of the items, then we have items 8A through C, and then items E with the abstention of Councilmember Sharkey through I. Does that make sense here?
It makes sense to me. I'd like to move approval of those items.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Okay, so motion carries unanimously there. And then we have pulled item 8D. So Councilmember Hensley.
Yes, I move that we hold this in abeyance, let the new council do it. I don't believe there's enough information that's put in here for us. It doesn't tell us the rate of return, it doesn't tell us the interest, and admittedly now it appears that we have some excess funds, and I'm always a person to try to live up to my word. And this council and this city promised some very hardworking, dedicated, regular employees when they voluntarily took pay cuts or benefit cuts, anywhere ranging from $200 to $800 possibly more, that we gave a resolute promise that we would help when the funds started coming back again, we would start increasing their compensation to make up for that loss. SEIU hasn't had a raise probably in 9 years, and they even took a pay cut for it. I think we should set aside, and I hope the new council will, if we can get this held off next time, some sort of recognition of fulfilling those promises that we made and holding that back. If we have that much money to start investing in other things, then we have money, okay? So it's time that we act out and become men and women and keep up with our word. So I motion that we hold this off until the next council meeting.
Is there anything else that anyone else wants to say?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
Councilmember
Madam Mayor,
Sharkey.
just a question of staff. Where would these funds be invested otherwise if they're not being invested in the county treasury pool?
Yeah, so the city, throughout the year, we have investable funds. Some of them are general fund reserves, some of them are special project reserves, some of them are enterprise fund monies. And right now, almost without exception, that available money is invested in what's called LAIF, the Local Agency Investment Fund, which is a common place for cities and counties and school districts to keep their investable money for cash flow purposes or for long-term needs. What this would do is allow us to, in addition to money that's invested within LAIF, invest some of those funds in the Ventura County investment pool. So it's a way for us to diversify the places where we can deposit monies that may not be needed at the moment, but that might be needed either later in the fiscal year or down the road, a year or two from now. So I think we had 3 council members that participated back during the summer, Mayor Pro Tem Berg, Mayor Munoz-Schnapp, and Councilmember Sharkey. We invited all 5 council members, and in fairness to Councilmember Hensley, it may have been when you were, I know you were kind of out with health issues during the summer months, but we did have 2 council members that didn't respond to the opportunity to meet with Judge Hintz, the elected treasurer tax collector of Ventura County. So he came and met in individual briefing sessions and kind of explained what the Ventura County pool is all about and what some of their advantages are. They actually compare favorably to LAIF. There's anywhere from a 0.5% to a full percent difference, higher returns from the county investment pool as opposed to LAIF. And they're both considered safe investment instruments for local governments that would comply with our policy. Now, having said all of that, there's nothing super time sensitive about this. So if the council wants to consider Councilmember Hensley's recommendation and allow the next council to make this decision, I don't think we have a major problem with that. But it really is just about allowing us to diversify the options that we have for the available cash that we invest really throughout the year.
Yes, Councilmember
Thank you, Madam
Hensley.
Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Again, it's not very definitive. It's kind of vague. And I'm wondering if we have these funds in there.
Jim.
Somebody's got a buzzer on here.
Jim, put your hand on it. There you go.
Okay, I got to hold this microphone. It's going crazy.
Just face it down.
That's the reason. Okay, thank you, John. Now I can let go of it. Okay. I saw bonds in there, and I didn't see much detail. If we need to readjust and pull back, say, $50,000, is it accessible, or do we have to wait till those bonds mature? What's the procedure of withdrawing?
Yeah, one nice thing about the Ventura County pool is that, like LAIF, the money is readily available to us on a short-term basis, as long as we communicate to them that we need it by X date. Ken may want to, why don't you come on forward, Ken, just so I don't misspeak. Yeah. I know with the Ventura County pool, if we needed a large amount on short notice, there'd be a little bit more of a time lag than with LAIF, but I'll let Ken walk you through that.
Yeah, they have a 30-day request because they usually do most of their investments of about a 1-year term. LAIF, it's usually 24 hours. If you send them the request, then by the next day they'll wire you the funds. It's really going to take a portion of that amount that's in LAIF, which combined with all the different funds might be 25 million. So rather than tying it all up in there, getting 1%, we may be able to get 1.5%, 2% by pulling some of it out and diversifying it. If we pulled it all out of LAIF and put it in the county pool, we'd be much better off, but we would have to be able to plan out our cash flow 30 days in advance. So there's a little bit of a time flow in there compared to just our checking account in LAIF, but it does give a higher return. I think for the 10 or 15 years that they showed us, they've always outperformed LAIF's rates.
Every year?
Yeah.
Every year outperformed LAIF.
Yeah. The question then, in regards to that, a lot of times bonds and securities have a penalty clause if you withdraw early. is there a penalty clause?
No, the ones that we have tied up into like CDs that have a time date, those we'd leave until maturity. So really what we're talking about investing here is pulling it out of LAIF and moving it into the county pool just to increase our overall yield.
Okay. I move.
Okay, so,
Second.
all right. So all those in favor then for
Aye.
approval?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So motion carries unanimously. So thank you, Mr. McDonald. So now we are at item number 9, Public Works Director reports, and it's about sand replenishment. Mr. Villafana.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. Good news is the city is going to get more sand, and we are underway. The Army Corps is managing the project, and the contractor is Manson Construction from Long Beach. We have weekly progress meetings, and right now the contractor has laid the pipe from the sand trap area, which is at Hollywood Beach, to the port. They're staging at the west end of Surfside and Market, and they've laid the pipe there, but they have not crossed the port yet. They're working on that. It's weather dependent. They're also working with the Navy and the port on ship movements. So right now, the latest update I got is weather dependent. They're going to try it this week. We're not sure if that's going to happen. Good news is that we have roughly, they estimate 2 million cubic yards of sand. And for a perspective and a little trivia, the standard wheelbarrow holds 3 cubic feet of sand or anything. There are 27 cubic feet in a cubic yard. It'll take 9 wheelbarrows per cubic yard. So that's roughly 18 million wheelbarrows of sand. And
wow.
You need volunteers to push them?
We're going to build the pyramids. And I'll be able to give you more updates in my quarterly report in January. And I'll hopefully will give you a layout of how they plan to place the sand. And we'll get a better idea of what we're looking at. To get a better visual that way, you're looking at, you could place 1,000 linear feet, 100 feet wide, and 10 foot deep. That gives you a little bit better perspective, or 18 million wheelbarrows. So, any questions?
Yes, Councilmember Sharkey.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So we were funded for 2 million, which is great. And do you know offhand, did you discuss the what they're going to put on the west side of the harbor for support? They always put about 100,000 over there. Is that?
I don't know at this time. I'd have to check. And
That was one of that's one of the things that's always kind of stuck in our craw a little bit, because there's over there on that side of the beach is. There's quite a bit of sand to start with, but they always add some to support the equipment and the pipes and all that. And from our perspective, the less of that they do, the more sand we get on this side. So, if we get even if they use 200,000, which is a little steep for them, and then we're still at least 1.8 over here, which is what we need to be. And technically the spec is 2.4, but if we get 1.8, we're usually pretty good. And if we can do that and stay in touch with Member Gallagher, yeah, Member Brownlee's office, and she was, when I talked to her legislative director, she was pretty optimistic about next year. If we can do this two years in a row and they get another interim, I think we'll be in good enough shape to get back to a regular maintenance cycle. So I'm very, very pleased with the amount of sand we got here.
I'll check on your question at the next meeting next week.
Yeah, that's because we've said, why are you putting any over? It's always been a little point of contention for us, and I understand why they do it, but just the same, if they can minimize that gives us more sand on this side.
Yes, Councilmember Hensley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Villafana. Mr. Villafana, is Mrs. Lynn Krieger involved in the oversight of this now?
She is a contract, she is involved. At the last meeting, she was there representing someone else, but not the county of Ventura. And I didn't catch who exactly she was there representing, but she was at the last meeting.
Okay, I would suggest, for the sake of our beaches, that we really keep a strong eye on that. She's a well-meaning person, but she has other people that she likes to keep sand for, and to the deficit sometimes, I believe, of Port Hueneme. So if you can work closer on that with her, it'd probably be a good idea.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Councilmember Sharkey.
Madam Mayor, I just heard from Lynn Krieger, and I'm going to be having a meeting with her. She worked on this as a contract employee for the county, and this is basically her last rodeo on this one. And I'm not sure who over there is going to be taking over the lead, if the harbor manager is going to be doing it or what. But you know, we've had, you know, we bumped heads a little bit with Lynn, but she does know the pathways and all the people and all of that, and you know, it's one of those great repositories of knowledge that we're going to be losing. So coming around through next year and after this, as soon as this cycle is over, we got to, you know, basically start working with the county, and I'm sure she's going to be doing all she can to bring her successor up to speed. But right now, I don't know who that is, and there's some big shoes to fill there.
The current harbor manager was there at the last meeting. I have his card, but I forgot his name.
Yeah.
But they are bringing him up.
Yeah, because she was, you know, she was able to lead that through the Corps of Engineers, and she knew the folks at the Corps, both in LA and DC, and work with the congressional delegation as well. And it's not an easy process, and it really takes, you know, someone that knows what they're doing. So, you know, we always have to stay on top of this, as we well know. And it's just, it was good having her there, despite whatever issues we may have had, because most of the time she could get the job done. And you know, not having her there is a hole that has to be filled, so to speak.
Well, I'll keep the council and the city manager informed. And in January, when I do my quarterly update, I'll be able to come back and provide more information, and probably you know, additional accounting on the amount of sand that we are going to get, you know, versus any sand that goes on the other side.
Right, and then congressional budget stuff starts in March, I think. You know, so you know, it's a never-ending process.
All right, do you have any questions? So thank you, Mr. Villalpando. I felt it was really important to have the community understand, you know, what's going on right now. As I could peer over there, I could see some work, and you know, just wanted to figure out what we would be getting, because it has changed over the years, and I know sand is very, very important to be replenished on our beach. The Army Corps of Engineers usually comes here, but then they have, you know, it is a project that's staged for a certain time frame. Do you know when they have to get all their work done here?
Well, right now they're scheduled to be finished by April. So that was another thing I was going to mention, was currently we have that area, that walkway from Market to the lighthouse, basically blocked off for safety and for staging areas. But that should be removed sometime in March. So
Okay.
that's their deadline. Actually, their deadline's in April, but they project they'll be done by March, sometime in March.
Perfect. All right.
And the Army Corps, I did speak to Mr. Cook, who is the project manager for the Army Corps, and if later on the council would like, we could arrange a presentation.
That would be perfect. I don't think we've ever hosted them at this meeting a long time ago, is what Councilmember Sharkey is saying. So we would appreciate that, and I think if we can pass that on to City Manager Butler to work with you about who's coming and when they could present, that would be fabulous.
I'll talk to Mr. Cook and see when we can facilitate that happening. I'll work with Mr. Butler.
Okay, very good.
Great.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So we receive and file this report. Is there a second? I'll second it. All those in favor?
Second.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? All right, super. So, motion carries. And thank you for that report. City manager report and comments. We're now to item number 10, and wanted to place this also on the agenda so we can get more comments made here on the odor complaints and where we are right now, where we stand with all of that. So, City Manager Butler.
Sure, so I'll start off, and then we may want to have Councilmember Sharkey comment. He did a good job of discussing this issue last time, and he's sometimes even more in tune with the Air Pollution Control District angle than I am. So I know a couple of significant things that have happened since the last council meeting was that our own law firm, Green D. Bartnowski, has gotten involved. Kevin Spalding, who you met at the last meeting, Deputy City Attorney, has basically launched an information gathering campaign, a document request campaign for some of the key players in this whole situation. So he will be monitoring that end of the process, which is basically trying to pull together as much information as we can from both Oxnard and the New Indy operation. The other thing is that Mayor Pro Tem Berg and I participated in a discussion, Tom Dunn Citizens Forum videotape session. Look out, Hollywood agents, because it's a ratings grabber. And Mayor Pro Tem and I we got our exposure on that.
Careful
now. But it was basically a group of city officials, residents in the area. Who else did we? Some of the residents that have been impacted and have spoken at meetings before. We're just talking about the issue, both from the wastewater treatment plant side and the New Indy side. And I made the point during that discussion that, the challenge from the city of Port Hueneme perspective is that both of those facilities are located out of our city limits, but they're having impacts on Port Hueneme residents. So, we can certainly do what we can to follow up on those concerns and help the agencies that do have jurisdiction address the problem. But we don't have any direct enforcement authority, at least from what I can tell so far, over those two entities that are located on Perkins Road and Oxnard. So we talked a little bit about that during the videotaping.
Yeah, if I can add,
Yes.
another item that was brought up, and as Councilmember Sharkey said, sometimes things don't get done until people start talking about them, and oftentimes it might be a real problem when things begin to happen. Well, I think it's our job to keep that conversation going and to keep people talking about this. We're not obviously the lead agency. We're not the ones that can fix this, although we're certainly willing. I think we could find the will here to openly support whatever needs to be done there. But right now, it's our job to support staff in their efforts and to just make sure that this conversation stays public. And I intend to do that.
Yes, Councilmember Sharkey.
I've been a little bit off the grid for the last couple of weeks, so I don't have anything especially new. Dan Searcy, the enforcement officer for APCD, was out doing some measurements and studies, and I haven't seen a final report on that, and I don't know when we can expect it. We're in holidays, and point out Mr. Vegas is getting within days of retirement as well. The one other issue, and I sent the city manager an email on this, as well as the Oxnard City Council as well. There's a noise issue from the vapor plant. This is something that used to happen back in the 90s. It has to do with the processing belt. The cardboard's moving on a belt in a continuous sheet, and if it breaks, that belt is powered by steam power, and there's a release of pressure, and it sounds like a jet engine. And that used to happen with some regularity years ago, and one of my constituents in Surfside 3 called me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and held the phone out the window, just so I could hear this. It's really loud, and when Weyerhaeuser was running it, they seemed to have gotten that under control. But yeah, a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, a week and a half ago, and I was out there and it was raging, and that hadn't happened in a long time. So I don't know. That's an operational issue. I don't know what Weyerhaeuser did to get that under control, and I don't know what New Indy's doing differently. We've got both facilities. We've got the wastewater treatment plant. We've got the paper plant. Both have been operating for years, and the only thing that's changed is new ownership at New Indy, and that's just a statement of fact. That's not saying that that's a problem. I'm not laying blame, but that's a statement of fact. And obviously, the wastewater treatment plant. You all know my opinion on that. You know, I know the Oxnard City Council is very concerned about this, and we have a lot of citizens on our side of the fence. You know, the latest thing with the noise issue needs to be investigated, because that is just unbelievably disruptive in a residential neighborhood. That is clearly over the CNL levels, and you know, as I said to my friends in Oxnard, this is, you know, if nothing else, it violates the neighborhood noise ordinance. So a lot of things to find out yet, and we don't have any answers. We're still gathering data, and we'll continue on with this.
I also want to mention that there was, I think we had someone forward a letter from the California Air Resources Board.
Right, yeah.
That you had seen.
Yeah, one of the Surfside 3 residents, in fact, he participated in this recent video discussion, had sent a letter to the mayor's office, and then the mayor's office got the Air Resources Board involved. And that was the kind of the genesis of that letter. And I wanted to make sure the council had it all. I didn't realize that, you know, the governor's office had actually been contacted, but it comes back down to this. Really, if you read the letter, they referred the resident back to air pollution control. So, you know, we're talking to the right people, the right agencies. We just need to stay on it and, you know, see if we can get some results on both the odor and the noise.
So I want to make mention that, you know, as we've had people come to the forum, as well as a few weeks back at one of our council meetings, there were folks that came out and spoke. I live down at the beach, but I've never smelled nor heard any noise until 12:15 this Saturday morning. And I had my window open, you know, because I'm on like a 5th floor walk up, and I had my my patio door open, and all of a sudden I smelled the worst smell. And it was rotten eggs, like they say, but it was actually ammonia. I could detect that in the air. And so I quickly got up and shut the door, and you know, the smell doesn't dissipate. If it's in your house, it's gonna smell for a while. And that concerned me because it's already reached my part. It crossed Ventura Road, and it's over on this other side here. So if I smelled it, all of Surfside, 1, 2, 3, and 4 have smelled it. Possibly Anacapa View homes have smelled it too. And then everybody else who's in this region here. So the interesting part is that I have a girlfriend who was raised in Wisconsin. And when I explained to her what I smelled the night that I smelled this smell, she recalled the smell of paper processing companies in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And when I explained to her what it smelled like for me, she said, Sylvia, that smells like a paper processing plant, because she remembers what it was as a child going through Green Bay and couldn't understand why people would want to live there because of that smell. Yeah. And so I'm just making that correlation here. I don't know if there's a direct impact, but as Councilmember Sharkey says, the one change, if you look at all the variables, and they've been running all this time, but the one change to then a spike and everybody complaining about pollution and, you know, and smell, there has to be something to be said about the new ownership. And so I want us maybe to really try to track that down, because it sounds like it's much more of a connection than just speculation, than just maybe guessing where it's coming from. So I'm concerned for my citizens too. And it wasn't pleasant. And it just, you know, wasn't where my stomach was turning, but you know what? Ammonia, when you're around ammonia, you smell ammonia, and it doesn't go away. So that's my concern. Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that we had that for the record. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Berg.
It's very serious. I've spoken with people who have smelled it all the way over at Oxnard College. So it has expanded quite a bit. That it gets now as far as down here in Anacapa area. It's serious, and a lot of our residents are prisoners of their homes. They have to lock themselves in at night, and you know, they bought their homes here for the express idea of being able to open their windows at night. They live along the ocean. This is great, and now they're trapped, and it's bad situation. We just got to keep this in the news, and hopefully, you know, other agencies will be able to take care of this problem.
You know, if we've asked our marijuana, those businesses that want to grow and want to have marijuana to have these systems in place so that they can contain or dissipate or whatever with the smell, that it doesn't affect our communities because they're adjacent to residences. Why can't there be something for these two businesses, or maybe one, you know, if it's causing it? I know that there's a solution, but it all comes down to, does somebody want to implement a solution? And I think that it's going to take the strength of the people on this dais to push this issue forward, just like we have for the sand replenishment for many years. And it's something I believe that as we get into more tourism, as we know that the beach is a really big asset for the city and the investments there and at Miranda Park, we can't have this situation. It's not right. So I'll get off my soapbox. But I just wanted everybody to know that. Yes, Councilmember Hensley.
Is the smell issue, I'll go into it other times, but are we closed on this item? I'd like to ask Mr. Butler another question on a different subject matter.
So is there anyone else that wants to mention or ask questions about the odor complaints? I would like for it to continue to be something on the agenda, like maybe every other month, because certainly it's not something that's going to be, or if something is going on, but certainly no less than like every other month.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so is this a new issue, or is this a continuation of this? It's old business? All right, so, hold on. So is it part of then the wastewater and the odor problem? Okay, so it's another issue. Okay, all right. So with that, then we move on to 11, Councilmember reports, comments, and requests
Mayor,
for future agendas. Yes.
I said before we move off of City Manager's report,
yes,
I had one item that was not on the agenda.
Okay.
Some of you may have heard some discussion about what's going on with the new bricks, the new REACH bricks down at the beach that were unveiled back on October 27th. Just wanted to let you know that we are investigating that right now. Don Villafana was out there this morning. Some of his staff were out there this morning. It appears as though basically the concern is that it looks like the bricks are fading, especially the print, the lettering that's on the bricks. We're trying to determine exactly what's going on with that. It may be something that can be easily solved through regular, basically just wiping down the bricks, and that would probably be someone from Public Works doing that on a routine basis, kind of like we watch out for and occasionally clean the Alaska Airlines monument. Some of that's done by volunteer efforts, Mr. Gama and some of his crew, but we also, Public Works supports that effort throughout the year. So it might be something along those lines, but we're trying to determine exactly what, is it just sand that needs to be wiped away, or is there salt from the air and the water that's impacting the bricks somehow? And like I said, I think we're close to having some answers to that, but we are aware of the problem. So if people are frustrated because they donated and here less than a month and a half later, the bricks are looking like they're in distress, we're trying to resolve that and figure out exactly what we need to do to maintain them and protect them.
Okay, all right. Well,
Yeah, that was my
thank you.
last item.
Thank you for that report. Okay, so now we move on to item number 11. So, Councilmember Hensley.
For the sake of brevity, I have nothing to say.
So, did you want to mention something about old?
I wanted to ask Mr. Butler earlier on something. I'll ask him tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. Councilmember Shelby? Mayor Pro Tem Berg? Okay. I do have one thing, is that we have Reach and many of our volunteers are putting together the senior holiday luncheon next Tuesday. It's always a sellout. I don't know if we have sold out at this point, but it's well attended, and we do this to recognize seniors who may not have their families close by, and this may be the only holiday event that they end up going to. And so it's always just well run, good food, good entertainment, and so I look forward to being there as well. Did you want to mention something about that, Mr. City Manager?
No, although we still are accepting volunteers. I wrangled Don Villafana. Don's going to be there with me from the executive team. There may be others there, but I know Anna's always in need of volunteers for that event.
And we usually have over 100 people, though, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
pretty big.
yeah.
Yeah. This is at the community center next Tuesday. All right. So, and you didn't have anything? All right. Moving on then to item number 12, continuation of open forum. So this is the point where we continue to take public comments on matters not on the agenda. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Seeing none, then we will adjourn to the regular meeting set for December the 17th here at 6 p.m. at City Hall. Thank you.